welcome to Street Show. Since 2017, Street Show's brought hundreds of hours of paid street performances to Nicollet and Hennepin Avenues, downtown Minneapolis. Now Street Shows brings this experience to you. Join us for live streaming performances from noon to 1 p.m. Tuesdays and Thursdays in May and June. Visit www.streetshowminneapolis.org for more information. Brought to you by Minneapolis DID, Hennepin Theater Trust, and the Warming House. Today we have Phlo Real. Welcome.
Thank you. So wonderful. How's the sound, video, everything all right? Cool. Greetings, friends, poetry lovers. I am streaming in for the first time live from the middle of Iowa and this beautiful bird-drenched day. It was pouring earlier, so I didn't think I was going to get to sit out here, but just in time. The rain's lifted and the birds are all swooping through the grass, and so I bring you in close, but not too close. And thank you so much for showing up, and thank you Minneapolis DID for supporting artists. You're seriously the best. I've been talking about Minneapolis to all sorts of people recently. I'm like, yeah, support for artists, street artists, even when we're not on the street. So, just a wee introduction. You see this lovely stack of books here. That's only a small fraction of the many pages that I have filled so far in my life. And as I was gathering poems to bring to this, noon hour lunch, poetry luncheon, if you will, I've just been hearing a lot of people's reckonings, right? And my own reckonings. And in this time of global pause and focusing on healing, I've heard a lot of different ways that people are recalibrating with days and clocks and calendars, and a lot of folks I've heard kind of losing track completely of what day it says on the calendar. Heard the term map relay to describe March, April, May, sort of like a month of time-ish, right? But during this time, then we're simultaneously getting retuned to some of the earth rhythms and some of these other, I would say quieter when other things are loud, but loud now, like loud like the birds, these subtler rhythms that are constantly in play underneath what we've gotten used to in our clocks and our times and our schedules and our to-do lists. And so that a lot of time travel. So I bring a variety of sort of different volumes of my own reckoning through the years and my own ways of listening, which I think is the best way to say what poetry is. Cummings said something along those lines. So just gonna start sharing a variety of my ways of listening through the years and hoping that tunes the ears better to hearing what's actually being said right now behind the scenes underneath all the little green things. Let us begin. Of course, it's on the bottom. We'll probably pepper into this because these are books full of scribe work. It's mostly my own words, but then it's a variety of also other people's brilliant words. So if I come across something that needs to be said out loud, I will quote that person. And if it's you and you're watching, let me know. So, all right. crossing the river once again, given full winds for bellows to meet, that bold dare to believe that nothing the fuck is wrong with the way things are. And our full participation is invited and required for evolution. So I've been known to preach such things at times. A full immersion therapy when I've wiped my slate so clean it becomes a transparent sheet, a lens for a pair of eyes so far beyond the meaty mechanics of the human eyeball as to find it sweet and quaint, like something that rides light speed, striking a match. But right now, I know better than to call myself any kind of preacher. This here is simple science, research. And I am a variable always. Learn to be wary of anyone claiming objective observer. So here are today's notes, unedited. Write a story big enough to contain and include and grow green from the story that set fire to your favorite forest. Do not stop until you have built a fertile ecosystem that can feed millions. Establish trade routes in water and sky for the seeds and salacious pollens to be carried to those clay hands and secret caves that hold their consent open like treasure, whose map is a question, which changes every breath. Cultivate dovecotes and apiaries for the hardworking messengers who have given complete and unassailable trust to the nature of desire, and in so doing have evolved bodies that can actually fly. Notice the rainbows that your facets throw upon the wall. Let go of the imperative to become clear glass. Allow creatures to meet their gods at will, dancing in your disco-lit prisons. Remember the only promise of nature. When it's time, invite your friend to come sit with you in the forest. The one who threw all those explosives you gave them to keep safe. Sit with your friend in this story. It's bigger than both of your heartbreaks and the canyon that stretched between them, thirsty for the time that rivers flowed unrelenting and free. Sit with your friend, admiring every glint and sparkle of your rough-cut stones, and weep. Weep until the birds come to bathe their wings in your tears. Weep until the canyon sighs a breath of sweet relief. Then rise again and learn to tell an even bigger story. Pew. So, you're willing to take my suggestions, but I'll just disclaimer that with that was a list of things for my own self. So choose your own adventure. I feel like because we're doing time travel, I might as well name that is from 2017 in the Common Era, if you will. Will you? So next, let us go to 2018. Learned so much, right? We're now a year older. This is called Weather Report Suite. So listen, the math is easy. It's 50-50. Any meteorologist in the world is working with the same odds, even measuring minutiae with technological marvels. The answer to that rain coming is maybe. We'll see. Things here change on a dime. Dropped from a hat, a hair's breadth of gravity calling heads or tails. The odds of anything in the exact present moment are always precisely 50-50. And the difference that each of us makes is something like 0.000000001%. That's where it gets interesting. So you've got exactly half of everything in the universe calling one way and exactly half calling the direct opposite. Your vote in every moment tips the scale. That's what's alive. The infinite possibilities of 0.00001. The expansive spectrum of experience, the chromosthetic choices alive in the breath of change between the unending exhale of darkness and the gasping brilliance of each star. They can't be shown in this sea of ever morphing molecules that one thing is right and another wrong. Light is not true and darkness false. There is no war between these forces, no war of dark and light angels, no war between the sexes, no war of mind against matter, no war of good versus evil. It's choices upon choices upon choices, spilling their colors through that infinitely slim slice of freedom called now. Now take care, because you don't have a choice where you don't know there is one. And those wars and more have been moldering in our language, beliefs tacked into meanings like provisional riders whose wars are smoldering in our charnel grounds built into bricks, and beams made to look like banks and courts and churches and schools. These wars, handed down as baselines in our blood and land bases, our boundary waters and Bibled verses, the brambled, thorny overgrowth piled on by taking a side without making a choice. See, there's always the choice not to make a choice. So check out the linguistics of your imagination and see if you were told that taking a side was the same as choosing. Many of us were never introduced to the present. We were introduced to a side with rules about how to be a good person. Maybe we took that in whole cloth and spent all our years mending it, toiling dawn to dusk, wondering why our dreams were so dark. There's always something in the background. Cosmic microwaves, right? True as ever, no matter where your comet fits in the thread. When you look, you can see right through the regurgitation of a ridiculous litany of rules that, when read beginning to end, send electrons backflipping across fences, elements pulsing, a rave-worthy light show across the periodic table. Ain't no list of rules that's got a handle on good. Huh. To paraphrase a wise teacher, the moment you play that game, you lose. There are no winners. Playing is losing. Anyone taking sides has made one choice only, and that is not to choose. You know, it's like the opposite of that old genie tricker of wishing for more wishes. Kind of a bummer. We learned to abdicate our freedom, to direct deposit it daily, investing in a future that preserves some mythological order of the past. And that's what got us here. Trash compacted internet squabbles, fear fueled trolls, video gaming into senseless violence, an actual president bragging about sexual assault and other nonsensical bullshit. A democracy monocropped into a moldy storehouse of indignant, exhausted, wasteful complaints. Some fool with a bullhorn inside, barking orders for how to be good, toiling and terrorizing our insides until we're so jumpy we can't have a proper conversation on intersectional justice, on white fragility, on patriarchal conditioning, toxic infrastructure, or these branding team colors inherited through survival of oppression and trauma. In this moment, this breath, this slice of possibility, let's not take a side. That entire game, all its detractors and all its fans, eats its tail inside of one field of a half-life. And somewhere beyond the measure of our tools, there are aliens cheering at halftime on both sides of a game that's its diametric opposite. So great. Here, in this breath of chance, lives the terrifying freedom of your own 0.000000001%. And only you can tip those scales. You know, we got plenty of stories of downtrodden despair chipping away at a person's health, will, resolve, and perspective until their electrons are just a bunch of fleas in a jar. And you can feel it. I can feel it. There's plenty cheering for that team. And there are exactly as many formidable forces of existence pulling for the miraculous uprising of undauntable courage to act from the heart of what matters, staring death in the eye and dancing. The odds are even. There are birds who fly in phosphorescent feathers the colors of rainbows the human eye has not yet evolved to see. There is mirror touch synesthesia, wherein the watershed of neural pathways is routed cleanly by empathic observation. There are storms beyond the blood-brain barrier, so electric that lightning could strike any number of keys. There are living roots, right now, speaking in their language about the exact codes of resurrection. The weather report is 50-50. You are free to choose. Oh, okay. I feel like I have to shake off after that one. Feel free to shake off with me. Okay. Yeah. Where do we go from here? Choice. Go anywhere. I think water. I think water is where we go. Thank you for joining me. Right, because was anybody else making plans earlier this year? I'll say just my own fun memory. There was a time, it was still winter, easily, still winter. Woke myself up, couldn't sleep, Finally like, fine, turned on the light. And I was going through just like all the things that I had to do that were in the next steps, right? You set your intentions, but then there's the practical, actual physical steps that must occur in order for those things to be possible. And I was just, my brain was just like, how is this ever gonna work? All the things, what do I do? And right, like you do sometimes. So stayed up well into the wee hours charting out things, just being like, okay, I just got to put it on paper, like garden them into the ground, at least like plot out what goes where, and then like find out what order they grow in and deal with them later. But like, we really got to like get things regulated and figured out. January. And so I came across some of those notes recently and just had this very visceral memory of how important it had been to just like really put things on the calendar for like, this has got to happen at least by then, and then like obviously this will need to be next. And just so much compassion for the way that the mind orders things, because we do need to decide what we planned. Well, maybe we don't need to. Many of us need to decide what we plan, so we don't just have a constant field of whatever. Uh, but I, uh, you know, I imagine that some of the reason that we do that is because the real benefit is um, letting go in the moment that life happens. Um, plans change on a dime, but then I think it matters that we made those plans, that there was a template, so then we know what we're letting go of. I'm actually going to read, not my words, but this is a quote from Pema Chodron, who I revere and honor. Uh, she says, if our edge is like a huge stone wall with a door in it, how do we learn to open that door and step through it again and again, so that life becomes a process of growing up, becoming more fearless, more flexible, more and more able to play like a raven in the wind? Ah! Yeah, so ravens in the wind. Here we are, and plans were made, but the wind isn't necessarily going to be like, sure, I'll just go this one way the whole time so you can have what you want. So here we are, and it's May. Naprele. Um, I'm gonna go back to the bottom here. This is right because the wind's swooshing us. It's not linear. Time travel isn't linear. It's not like you just go one place and then walk forward from there. So we're just getting blown back to earlier, like you do. Right, because like I said, I have a fuck a lot of compassion for the fact that it super sucks sometimes when your really well laid plans change, and especially if you love them dearly. Those plans were made out of love, so they're fucking hard to let them go sometimes. So here's a poem of letting go. This is called Connoisseur of Sorrow, and it's also the title of my first self-published book of poetry. So if that's something that you want in the future, ping me somehow. Time travel, get in touch. There's stuff in the internet here somewhere about how to get in touch with me. So in any case, letting go. Connoisseur of Sorrow. Yes, you know now what violent death is like, the disorienting devastation, the disintegration of everything you once thought sure would hold. You know the sharp barbs of wires, strangling the unsleepable question, why? You know how to stop counting days. You know the thick, high ambulance sound of no one coming to rescue what they can't find. You know now the quiet density of madness, the time that spreads like lichen on the rocky surface of your learning to simply exist, carrying on, going to the store, speaking out loud for no reason. You know now what it is to wait for something long gone. You know what it's like to hold something so careful in your hands, weeping, watching it vanish like snow. You know the particular taste of sorrow that actually exists to love this, that actually loves this. You know as well the tired pacing of lions inside, unable to look back or forward, but only just set to circle the worn dirt path of wishing for release. Oh, heart. Oh, love. You know. You know well what giving up feels like when you know full well you will start again. You know the small, insurgent child pounding through damp, dusky hallways, banging on doors, wailing like the wind against glass, insistent that you don't have to lose if you can just. You know what it's like to watch the paper reel spin to dust. The perlite masterpiece rent through its storms and steal, unheeding the ever present parallel of the other path chosen, sidecar to your vision, relentless and just out of reach. You know now how to be unsurprised at the sequential detonation of every building your eyes meet on that horizon, stretched out in stillness mid-breath, falling with the crushed immediacy of an unfazed gaze, skyline ripped open, old brick scattered, torn fabrics of once built time, just seconds after you're thinking, this is how it is. What a gift to be here together. I know the person that I was when I wrote that poem didn't see this at all. Did not, could not see this current scenario or sitting in the middle of this countryside, just reading poetry into this machine for a lunch hour on a lovely day full of birds. I did not. I will speak for my own self. I did not see specifically this. So sometimes it's good that we can't plan for everything. Good, bad, whatever those things are. 50-50, you know. I let us investigate some other part of this time travel, shall we? I'm gonna stack these back up. Whoa, something happened to my phone. Oh, it's fine. Thank you, technology, for helping us level up in communication. Um, Speaking of level up, do private message me on here or in one of the links that was given. If you would like to converse about any of these poem topics or life or collab on any kind of artistic venture to better meet the face of the present, let us converse. Right? Because I like want to hear what you have to say, and right now this is very like flowing into the universe from me. But if there are words that want to flow back, I trust you will let me know. Oh, and look, speaking of which, da da da. Said I was going to pepper this with not my words, and these books are full of other people's words. So here come some words from an ancient yogi. The beauty of the soul is constant, continuous, and endless. Thank you. So, time travel. This was written after a plunge into the Columbia River, that wide, gorgeous river gorge, where I let the current bring me closer to the ocean. Right, that's where the water flows over there. And came up out of it to watch the sunset and write this poem. I came to the water so I could get clear. With the river, let it spell out my body syllable by syllable, so I can come up fresh. Breathing clean slated sky, saluting sun that talks to water constantly flowing with songs for listeners given ear for language. Surfacing with key in hand. Tasting roots, cellars, mycelium of hidden doors, and hearing my own voice piping up through far-traveled air, currents where swallows swoop, saying, smiling, I'm getting clear. So I can go through this eye of the needle, and my threads will be sturdy and true. For sewing together, something that will hold up over time, fabrics that flow and enfold and lay out for stories to be shared like life-changing sunsets, trusted, to keep warm for the rise. Thank you, Columbia. Whew, that river. Ah, so wide and sparkly and deep. You know what? Speaking of Columbia River, I'm gonna throw this one in here because yeah, delightful. I have a sweet poem that I wrote for one of my favorite little wizards on the planet. Whew, this kid. Thing is, some kids are really articulate in languages older than English, and they show up just speaking it all the time, and it's really on us as adults to decondition our nonsense, our colonization, and make our tune our tuning forks so we can better hear what's being said, because those kids are clear. Thank you. So this is dedicated to one such kid. Dear Alma, you are so brave. You know how to jump iceberg to iceberg toward a special place. You are so good at loving what you love, fully, colorfully, openly, loudly. Mm. And you are just as great at disliking what you dislike. Really, honestly, no holding back. Mm. You are undauntable, swimming through sand, climbing adventurously, calling down your eyes in the sky. When there's a fire to be burned, you move respectfully and sing raucously in languages that come through you unquestioned and emphatic. And when it's dark at the water's edge, you ride faithfully on the back of a trusted creature, listening for stories in languages you don't know yet. And when your friend dives naked into the waves, you stand naked on the shore, quacking unabashedly. You hold special things carefully in your hands, and you let them go exactly on time. You are excellent at asking for what you want, and you are brilliant at using your imagination when what you want is unavailable or invisible. May we all grow in those skills. You wake up knowing who you are. You might be the bravest person I know. Quack, quack, quack. I love you, Ducky. I don't know if that kid is watching right now or she's got other things happening, but there it is. Trust time travel. Whoopsie. Mm. So funny. Again, like this whole stack of happenings right here. This is just like pages and pages and pages, and still like a tiny fraction, right? Tiny fraction of the pieces of, you know, pressed, flattened, bleached tree that I have covered in ink and a little graphite, but mostly ink, like on this person. Um, and I was just, speaking of time travel, I was having a graph about this, right? Because there are things that are different that come out from the trons, right? If I'm writing a poem on the internet, or not the fucking internet, so the trons. If I write a poem on a computer, typity typity, which is a rare event, but sometimes necessary, it comes out very differently, right? It's a very different medium, and so things are said differently there, right? So like one step more analog, if I'm typing on a typewriter, which is much more of a like poundy syncopation rhythmic, right? Very tactile though. Then like a very different set of words comes out. Just not the same as a computer. Or a text, which don't even get me started. Um, but right, like spatially, the math is different, so the words are different, and then the thing that is said is different. And often I find that the poems that I type on a typewriter really need to be read on the page. They're hard to verbalize. I've done it here and there, but like it's it's more of a visual art, right, than an auditory. Which brings me then to these, and speaking of visual art, I could like make an interesting coffee table. I've tried a few times. I'm still working it out, but I could, right? Because I can make a coffee table out of all of the books that I've filled with words, paper and paper and paper and paper, and it's so it feels more permanent to me because yeah, I'm fucking old school. That it's paper and I can hold it, I can smell it. I love books. I love books. But at the same time, I was thinking of this coffee table thing, and how like it would have to have some way to keep it even so that I could pull a book out here and there and they wouldn't just be props. Um, and it just occurs to me too that like they're not more permanent. They're just a different element. Like they're all burnable. All of this is flammable, and it gives me a different respect for the way that languages speak to one another over time. So I'm having to level up in my communications right now. I'm getting a lot more Tronzy. And learning to trust this method of communication, which is, not less burnable than this. Um, and I wonder if so many of us are being brought full circle to trust the immediacy of these stones, right? This is a collection of really awesomely communicating, intricately artful stones and wires and metals and just like put together that are like zooming up to a satellite that's circling the earth. That's physical. It's literal right now that like in order to communicate like this, we're pinging off of physical uh, infrastructures that go the world over. And for my own self, I'll say that I'm learning to trust uh, my communications in those mediums more and more for what it's worth. And I love a book. I love a book. So we're learning together. All right, let us have a couple more poems. We have the time. La 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 la. Reckoning. Oh, in this one. Good then. Mm, so much. Oof, this book. Speaking of, this book is thick with time travel. I tell you what. Actually called it that some years ago when I realized each time I came back to it, I had to read very carefully what was said just before because I was like, oh, that person was different than the one I am now. So I couldn't come to this book just like barreling forward with like, I gotta write this down right now because it's real in me. That would go in a different book, right? Because if I came to this book, I would have to, like any respectful conversation, just wait for a moment, ask it if it wanted to communicate with the present me, and then maybe listen to what it says first. So each time I come back to this book, um, there would be this moment of re-meeting a previous self that had some pretty fucking important shit to say, and that I maybe needed to hear right in that moment before I spoke my mind. Um, yeah, so I'm back to honoring paper. This is where we can re-encounter in real time some elements of the past that need our ear. So this one was written even longer ago in the South, inspired by the one called Harriet. It's called Dead Reckoning. At the coppered feet of Washington's ghost, bathed in sound waves, you are bare components of pigeon shit, ingredients of gunpowder, green on the gravity side, oxidizing elements, bird droppings and dancing jazz and molecular memory, thoughts. Still pushing for a war between church and state, between body and mind, night and day, man and nature. With these pennies still hammered to the shape of a dream houser nobody remembers without his skin. And the underground currents sent to wake us to what we carry: passengers, cargo, and viral videos of the crimes of our ancestors, of our kin, and dreams. Dropping. Between breaths, we can remember the goat who ate from the ground, whose river-banked memory flanked the bones that flavored our feast, and its watchworks are in our blood now. Its silence in our mouths. And you who want to send flying a paper iculus to the solar star, you're elbows deep with the creeps who stabbed a flag in the moon. So, better check your balances. You better own the inheritance of the cost of these costumes, the deep decadence of this theater, paying rich attention to what the weathered bone dance is saying, swallowing the eyes, speaking from beneath the gutted gut, that which drops our chains, that which names the risk of our gains and the losses of our gains. Collect the severed heads at the base of our spineless old hat excuses and string them round the neck of the emancipator and drag, singing a light, low lanterns in a worthy dark alley where we gather the strength to run free. Let each be fed, nested, and given light. Let each be composed of symphony and prose, who use their powder for fireworks and flight. Each who unearths the Underground Railroad, feathers, guide you through the night. Mm. All right. We had a couple more. I said one more, but now I'm remembering that I have simply the words of a genius, a dear, dear, dear way shower and genius. I just want to say them. They are in one of these books. Funny. Apparently, I'm going to read these people's words in the meantime. Hold fast. Yeah. Okay. A couple of people speaking about the internet. I wrote these things down. This is by a man named Hans Monderman. If anybody is a geek enough, you know this one. This is about Hans Monderman. This is pulled from a TED Talk talking about the internet as random acts of kindness. Because if you remove some of the external rules and signs and such, you can actually end up with a safer environment in which people can function, one in which they are more human with each other. They're realizing that they have to take responsibility for what they do. Once you reframe it, once you get out of one set of stable expectations from a failed project that had its day, but now, for whatever reason, is tarnished, then you can actually rekindle the human kindness and sharing that something like this represents. Don't forget, the internet is a verb. Yeah, it's Jay Zitterin, TED Talk. Look it up. TED Talk on the internet as random acts of kindness. And yes, I found the other quote, as long as we're quoting people who we love. That is a quote from the reigning Queen of Spades, who would like to remind us, I am not a creature, I'm a fucking wilderness. I believe that is true of all of us. Verb, not noun. Oh, of course, it's the one on the bottom again. Right? See, this is why coffee table. I don't know how to do it. All right, verbs. My fellow processes of awakening, events, artistic happenings. So, here it is. Yeah. This is just called one. Whew. Everyone has direct access. Oh, let's start in the middle of something. Pardon me. So precedent has been made for people to tell one another, no one may converse with the divine but through me. Then people learn to believe in possession, and they feed it with their entire lives. This does not need to continue. It does need to end. Everyone is their own translator. Everyone has access, direct access to Earth. Every last one of us here, with molecules enough to exchange breath, we have a whole map into ourselves. But this does mean everyone. Okay? I don't have anything new to tell anyone in this place full of ancient bones and live wires buzzing into unknown shapes that God form met in your mouth. I am a scribe, not an interpreter. I want to use this tool to ask good questions and find clear answers. Like this one. Here. Can you feel the oxygen in your body was once in the corporeal dance of Isabella Duncan, of Nella Larson, of Siddhartha and Selassie, of Jim Henson and Nina Simone, of every single brain washed in Heaven's Gate, of coyotes and reindeer and Osa, of Shel Silverstein, of Robert Zimmerman, of Mark fucking Zuckerberg, of Margaret Cho, of Donald actual shit-tweeting Trump. All of these and more. Can you feel that? This oxygen was once in the corporeal dance of every rapist who has ever walked the planet. Every incorrigible racist, every murderous cowboy of manifest destiny, every slave-driving figurehead of unchecked corporate America, every cactus and every willow tree, and every hardworking survivor weaving stronger the living fabric of compassion, every brainwashed not seeing the wrong end of a gun. Can you feel that? It may feel excruciating because it's not a metaphor. Because it's not a phenomenon we have the luxury to opt out of. It's actually just the case. We share this atmosphere, earth, lifeblood. But letting that be true, my question is, what do we get to choose? Our bodies made of these shared threads of time and beads of space. Who tells us where our choices lie? Who names our godhead? Who writes the stories we live out? These words we repeat, whose meanings spread neuroplastic fireworks across the dark net of unfathomably expanding space between nuclei, equaled by our uncharted insides. How do we possibly carry on in the daily unfolding awareness of the mystery we bear? But then who programs our ones and zeros when we give up trying to witness the unspeakable, unrelenting uncertainty of the present? You there, made of earth. You animating the soil of whatever you believe. You, the growing tips of what breathes and metabolizes the bodies of all others. You are the holy book. No one else can read, buy, sell, trade, or own. You. The earth is on its knees in your temple. Please, stand up. Thanks for joining me, y'all. I'm going to ring some bells.
Thank you, Phlo. It was really nice to have you today.
That was very dramatic.
So all of you come back next Tuesday and see really spicy opera right here at noon. And Thursday we'll have another special guest. So we'll see you next Tuesday. Bye.